Hi, Caroline Kearney here at Powell Arts, and I'm standing with the terrific Brian Hallas in front of his two pieces, which will be in our Portray-It show from January 19th through March 12th. Brian, do you mind introducing us to your pieces?
No, this is Fred, and this is Georgina. No.
Oh, I was going to say Ethel, but I realize now that's from Lucy.
Yes, it is. These are from a series called Trittico, which means three not triptychs, because in Instagram you post things in threes.
Yeah.
So for a while I was doing some triptychs, and then I decided to do not triptychs, but they all have a similar something going on. So it was in each case, I believe, three variations of this particular image, and three variations of this. And I just like these are the two favorites from those non-triptychs.
They're playing with color and background, and like this one has more of like a brush stroke vibe of like an organic, like viney and floral vibe, and this has more of a like cross hatching with larger leaves. But I like how you've this is you can see the lines of like the way the shape pops out is really nice.
Thanks.
That's what I was trying to without making that weird sound.
And you indeed did say it. That's what I kind of like about this abstracting of it, is that it really kind of reduces it to shape, and in this case to especially texture.
Yeah.
But that's using, I layer these, I will take the original image and then do something to it, maybe in 2 or 3 different apps.
Yeah.
And then take a layer from each of those experiments and put them on.
Yeah. And in some ways, these your work reminds me of 2 things: stained glass, because you play with light and color density a lot, and also like layering, like in theaters where they put the gels, which if you don't know what gels are, they're basically big clear cellophane that's really thick that they layer to make colors. They remind me of the way you layer them, and they meet and have like these beautiful dimensions. And there's also sometimes something reflective and metallic. It's really interesting because you are playing with, your work largely plays with organic nature. And yet the way that you play with them reminds us of, can be a really good reminder of like things that are not so organic, like that have reflective qualities that are not water and things like that. Although you do droplets too.
I do droplets, yes. It's one of my specialties. I think part of the thing is the organic versus non-organic or human probably is more like
man-made.
Is that what I like to see, is how each one tends to affect the other.
Yeah, and even in like your subject matter, like the subject matter you're choosing is very much about the intersection of those
and
things.
how time and mankind tend to
exacerbate and bring out these things.
I was going to say mistreat, but I think you said it.
So I don't think people think exacerbate. I hope like.
I don't necessarily think that that these would remind anyone of human mistreatment much as
human interaction. But the problem is that in making, like in thinking on some of the things we as humans do, they have like, guys, there's chemicals that you put in water that make it absolutely stunning. And yet,
but you don't want to drink it.
You don't want to drink it, and you shouldn't touch it to your skin. Like,
right.
I mean, some people really like acid yellow, but you probably shouldn't touch it.
Yeah, probably not a good idea.
But we've talked about this before. But I also, something I really like about your work is you zero in on things that are smaller that we think about in macro, and then you concentrate and really explore the layers of those things. Which brings out, like, it makes you investigate it in unique ways. Because when you look at these, you can find all these beautiful little nuggets of like different things that you've done.
It's interesting because there's in a show I did. I was in theater for a while, and we were doing a show talking about a cinema screen versus a TV screen.
Oh,
One
yeah.
of them is in a cinema screen, you look everywhere.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And in a TV screen, you basically look at the pair of eyes,
Yeah.
or the mouth moving.
Right.
And what you just said reminded me of that, because that is sort of, this is a cinematic,
Yeah.
a movie screen version.
Well, and it also has a
because
grand.
it has this stuff going on.
Well, it also has a grand scale, and the object in and of
Sure,
itself.
most of these flowers
Are,
this
yeah.
one is probably.
Well, and the color is dramatic, and there's so much going on, and yet you're drawn into it. All of them become like these like dramatic avatars that you want to explore. Whereas like on TV, like you might watch a show over and over again, but like you're basically taking a bite of that, absorbing it very quickly.
Yes.
There's not that much exploration.
Yeah, that's
whereas,
a good point.
yeah, whereas in movies, like it's a story, it's a whole meal.
It's unfolding or unraveling
Yeah.
in time.
And
it gives you the leisure.
Yeah, but that's also, I think, what keeps the viewer engaged with your work. Because on the one hand, they can identify it. They go, oh, this is the flower. I've seen this flower. I know this flower. And yet, because of the way that you've zoomed into the detail, when we pass it, as we're looking at it in the world that we exist in, we don't really see it. We see the idea of it.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's here, it's brought so poignantly to us that examination has to happen. So, but I was going to go back and ask you a little bit about something Caroline said, which is that these remind her of stained glass.
Mm-hmm.
So you must have a lot as far as light and light interactions as you do these. So how do you think about light in your creative process?
It's like the essence. It really is, because when I was in theater, I was a sound designer, but I could see sound, which has to do with light. It doesn't have to do with audio waves.
So interesting.
You know, and so in a way, that is what's going on. Every time I try to describe something, oh, I love this because of its shape, its texture, its color, and basically you come down to, well, it's the way the light is working.
Yeah.
On whatever the subject is. And then that's in painting as much as photography.
And that was what I was going to bring up, that mostly painters deal with light. And they want light controlled. That's why you want that northern light.
Yes,
and she does always say your work is very painterly.
Yes.
It is too. And I think that's partly because of the apps I use, but it's also this, it was a surprise to me that it came out so painterly the first time.
Well,
like, whoa.
It's also, I think, that you're using such dramatic juxtapositions, and yet they're so well related.
Mm-hmm.
And like we've talked about this before, it makes so much sense to me that you were like a sound designer, because you think in layers and coverage and the way that the brightness hits here, and so I think it's funny that you do the same thing with these that you would do to manipulate sound. I've said it before, so you should watch our other video as well.
Right.
Yeah.
But, this is part 2.
But yeah, like part of it is that it has gravitas is not the word, like a grandness. It's dramatic. It's and which is part of what makes it a story.
Yeah.
And
true.
it's usually one of the differences between a good movie and a great TV show.
Yeah.
So.
True.
But yeah, light is the essence.
I love that. I love that phrase. Yeah, because you can really see that light is the essence in here. But but let's take that a step further, and I'd like you to kind of describe as you're going through your process, because you said these are my most successful ones, and so when you're going through your process.
I have 20,000 on my phone, currently on my phone. Just prove me right or wrong on that.
That all artists say that. Some people.
I don't care about right or wrong. What I care about is, like you're saying, these are, I think, highly successful. And because you're dealing with light, which is very transient, and
Yeah.
you stop it. You literally stop it. And so, what to you makes these from the standpoint of, I'm not going to say that. What makes these successful to you?
Yeah, like I'm going to paraphrase what you just said because I think I understand exactly what you're saying. What elements do the ones that you consider successful, because a lot of it is experimentation, what to you in capturing this very ephemeral thing makes it, boom, that was exactly the right moment to catch, this was exactly the right way to divide it up?
It's less in the taking of the picture, although I look at these, like this flower, I mean, the white of this flower was amazing. So that's why I took the picture. And then when I do stuff to it, it's not at all the flower that I took. It's a whole different one. In this case, it's, I think, 3 layers. And, it's more in the post-production where I get that wow.
Because you find that the layer,
yes. Oh, this is what those 3 layers are doing. Given this one's on this setting, this one's on this setting, this one's on this setting. And, I now know enough of settings in each app that I can go to things pretty quickly, but still they're, the ones that I find most successful are the ones that truly surprise me.
That's what I was going to ask you. What surprises do you get?
Yeah, that's whoa. And when I get that reaction, it's like, okay. And if it does it the next time I look at it, and then a week later, then I get a sense that that's how it seems to me to mean to me that it works.
Because it stays with you.
It stays with me that kind of like, I keep seeing something that, it might be real fleeting in a sense, because then you start looking at it and it changes. But that jump of, whoa.
I always think that that's an interesting thing about art, like generally, which is that we forget that art is a lot about construction. And even in construction, like just like hanging these on the wall, there's these little things is like to make it success that is both understanding of like how these things work together and then this other intuitive thing that actually makes it work. And oftentimes I find in a lot of successful pieces, there is a mysterious intuitive part, even in the most like technical, like this is what I do, planned out piece that makes it feel human and that like makes us explore more.
And that would make the same thing done by 2 different people different.
Yes. So it's why like Carol, my mom, you guys all know
whoever I am.
I just have to remember. I try to remember to call her Carol, but I'm like, hey, mommy. We were talking about AI. AI made art, and of course, we all saw that initially with like when we started taking pictures on our phones. Was that the algorithm could go and like refine the photo, which is something that you're actually like taking to the whole next level. You're like, I am dividing this out. I'm manipulating these to extreme levels. I'm combining them in a way that only I can because I have the tools to make this something different. But we all saw that with that. But the thing is like there is always going to be a lack of like humanity within the AI art. And that's not me saying like AI art is crap, because I haven't decided yet. I'm pretty sure I'm going to think that.
No. You know what you're going to think, or at least what artists will think? It's a great tool. I can think of 12 more things to do with this.
Because that's part of like the whole thing as a photographer is that you took these tools that were supposed to make it so that everyone could take their own photos, and you're like, I got another idea. Just you wait.
I get bored easily. So,
I think that's it's a great quality to be creative though.
I can either spend my time, doing other things, which I do, but a lot of it is like, oh, this is a good video game.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Like, and this is going to get like a little weird / deep, but like, it's like even in like atomic theory, they still have something called the God particle that they haven't figured out what it does. They're probably never going to. Yeah, and that's I think
Yeah,
true.
greater minds than ours have tried.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
And I think that that's one of the things that's interesting about artists is a lot of artists have we have very technical backgrounds and we have a depth of knowledge and we become obsessed with whatever we're studying and exploring. But there's also a part of it that's no, I just have a feeling this is how this comes together. And you're really successful in that in your pieces. It's why we love showing them.
Well, thank you.
So.
That's so kind of you to say. And I will, I look forward to continuing that.
Me too.
Since it's on tape, I'm going to hold you to that. Really, but thank you.
So.
I love it. I love showing you.
So.
Well, I feel very fortunate.
We love you guys. You guys are terrific. So, I think that, did you have any questions or things you wanted to explore?
No.
Then I will stop torturing.
Right, exactly.
I will stop torturing you then. You're very graciously done.
Which facetious comment did I make? So I will leave it at that.
So,
No. Now that you've done that,
torturing
I am, because the texture of the flower on the right side, its center against the lines that are pulling out is another texture, and the texture of the flower that's on the left-hand side that seems to come together in these bubble-like areas. Did you choose these two? And then all around the outside is where it's spiky.
These two.
It's spiky. No, he gave us more than these, and
That is true.
and there was variety.
That's true.
You're great with unity and variety.
So these are a
Good
great juxtaposition. Yeah, is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Sorry, I interrupted you. Please.
Well, now I have to remember. But what I was going to say is, while you're doing your process and you're building these up, I'm sure there's times where you lose something and you gain something. How do you make that balance between loss and gain?
I do about 500 of them at a time.
Okay.
So there are subtle variations, and then I tend to choose from which one strikes me the best, again, after the fact. I don't, obviously, maybe obviously, that's obviously not the right word. I don't, honestly, I don't think about it a lot as I'm doing it.
Mm. You're reacting to what you're seeing.
Yeah, and it's, again, I sort of have my formulas and I go to those to start, and then I start playing around with them. But it's more, it's not like I know what I'm, even these formulas, what they'll turn out to be given the source, because the source and its color
Are so variable.
And some colors do this really well, but they won't do this really, and vice versa or whatever.
I was also thinking of the cloud pieces that we had of yours, in the same kind of way that the variations of texture, variations of light, variations of color, and I was never quite sure which one I liked best. It was like, well, they go well together. They go well separate. I knew this, and I want people to know how many steps you go through in order to make this, because people come to photography and have this expectation that they go around with their cell phone and zip, 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 and that's what it is. This is not what it is at all.
But that's everybody thinks that they can record an album on their phone, and everybody can sing now. Like everyone can, and we might want that to be true, but it's not.
It's not.
It's not, right.
And we want to make that very clear.
Wow.
So please.
This turned grievance space very fast.
Really?
So, but no, these are beautiful pieces. I really, I've been happier viewing them together at the two that we chose because they have such strong.
Well, right now, it's, hour or so ago was the first time I saw them printed.
Oh, wow.
I didn't take them out. And that is another part of the step of the process. It's always fascinating because I usually see them backlit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, on your
know,
phone.
on a small device, and you kind of keep your fingers crossed as to how true the colors will end up being.
Yeah.
Because even what I see on my computer, sending it into the
Is
printer,
still
is
backlit,
different
it's still
than this.
smaller.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
And, you know, the
Yeah.
purple is more purple, or the blue is less blue, or the whatever.
Well, yeah, and there's also like the Shirley principle where like you have to color correct
Yeah.
to like whatever they're
Right.
printing. I
Yes.
worked for a photographer,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And so yeah, it becomes this like,
Yep.
I hope this works.
And basically, I don't do a lot of that, and it just is like, okay, I'll be satisfied with whatever.
Yeah, but you have such a great sense of color too.
Thanks.
So, well,
Yeah, that keeps me entertained.
You're entertaining enough. We don't need to keep you entertained.
we hope that you will all come see Brian's thought-provoking, beautiful, bright pieces at Powell Arts during our Portray-It show from January 19th through March 12th. Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
I'm sorry we tortured you.